What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Blazers Uprise Postgame show. The Blazers get a 48-point win over the Oklahoma City Thunder. They take care of business tonight. This was a pretty relaxing game, and honestly a game that I paid no attention to. So Eric will have a lot of the breakdown for this one. I'm a huge Gonzaga fan, and that game went into overtime. So that's what my attention was focused on, and if you followed along on Twitter, you could obviously tell. My voice also probably isn't 100%, but at least I'm happy and not absolutely depressed right now. I don't know how we would have done this stream if they didn't win that game, but now they're going on to the championship. Hopefully they can get it done Monday night, and at least we don't have a game Monday night. So, for better or worse. But anyway.
Like Isaac says, we had a chance to have two completely opposite Tories tonight.
Yep.
Had that game gone differently.
Yep. Oh man, dude, okay. Let me just talk about it for 30 seconds, then we'll break down the game. That shot was like when Dame hits his series winners. Like, that's the only thing that compares, man. And I know you guys are Blazer fans. You guys know how that feels, man. It's just throughout that whole game, it was torturous because I felt like we should have been blowing them out. And I'm sitting there thinking, man, why do I make my life so about sports and then have to deal with the heartbreak? And then sucks is that shot. It's like, okay, that's why. Yeah. So I'm very happy right now. But the Blazers also, did a good job tonight. They win by 48 points. They get a blowout win, a comfortable win. You have Giles hitting threes. You have some Ellaby time there in the fourth. Very relaxing game, it seems like. Obviously, I didn't really watch it, but it was it was just a blowout. What's the biggest blowout in Blazer history? Do you know?
It was 50 points, so we just missed it.
Man, we should have gotten it. But this is what we expected. They're starting Poku at the 3 and Moses Brown and Isaiah. Like, it's just a horrible lineup. I think Gonzaga could have beaten this Thunder team, to be honest with you. This was just a horrible lineup they put out there. Yes, maybe. No. If everything went right.
They won by 3 points against UCLA. Come on now.
UCLA has more NBA players than this Thunder team.
No,
I don't know what I'm saying. Just let me have my moment. Just yes, I know. Okay, I know. Just let me live my life. But okay, so
Mac Mole, stop, man. You know that. You know not to spam.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Fine. I mean, Mac Mole, chill with the spamming, but I also agree with the spamming at the same time, if you know what I mean. So, anyway,
don't encourage it, man.
Man, just let me be. This game, Eric. Break down this game.
This game, contrary to what our announcer said, OKC is absolutely not trying to win right now. And we have a way better team. They had most of their good guys not play today. The guys that did play did not play well for them. And this was what we needed to get our point differential looking a little better, our defensive rating a little better. Games like this will do wonders for those kind of things. So I mean, we played really well on defense. We got a lot of steals. We forced I think 22 turnovers off the top of my head, which was a season high for us. But yeah, OKC just didn't have the talent to match up in this game.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we expected going in. And what have I said on a lot of post-game shows is the Blazers struggle against good teams, but they've taken care of business for the most part against bad teams and this year. And Dame echoed those sentiments after the last game, saying they haven't played well against good teams whatsoever, but this has probably been the best year that he's been here in terms of them taking care of business against some bad teams. So, we haven't really blown out bad teams, so I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, and we do have a couple bad losses on the season, but we haven't blown out bad teams like this, so this was nice to see, but this was probably the worst lineup we played all season, so, nice to win by 48, nice to relax, nice to not have to worry, nice to hold them under 20 points for 2 out of the 4 quarters. This might be the first game that you can say that about the Blazers so far this season. If anybody knows if there's been a time previously, let me know in chat, but it's nice to have a comfortable win, but now you got 2 games coming up against Western Conference playoff teams, and we need to see this team have some success against good teams because they haven't done it. So you can enjoy this win 100%, but not really indicative of anything going forward, and we got a couple more tests coming up against legitimate teams.
Oh, and don't worry, Tori. I was told during this game that the Blazers only lost to the Clippers and Utah earlier in the season because they had so many pieces they were integrating and trying to do different things schematically, and that's why they didn't look good against those teams earlier in the year. So this week, it'll look a lot different, and we'll win those games.
I mean, here's the thing. If people can't come up with an excuse, it'll be, well, our roster just isn't good enough, fire Olshey. You know what I mean? That's basically their baseline, what they can fall back on. Sure, they'll try and spice it up with a few more excuses here and there, but, if they can't think of, if they can't come up with an excuse like that, it'll be, this roster just can't compete. They're just, other teams are too good for us.
Chris knows what I'm talking about during the game. That's what our announcers were trying to say about those games early in the year. But anyways, even if there's some truth to that, I don't know. It just becomes a point where we need to play better against good teams, and I'm glad we won this game. We took care of business, and it was a great win for us to be able to not play Dame like 36 to 40 minutes in a game. I felt like I think he only played like 24 to 26 minutes, and I felt like that was too much, being up 40 with like 8 minutes in the third. But yeah, it's just nice to get a comfortable win and not have to worry about a comeback because there was no chance that the Thunder were going to do that tonight.
Yeah. Shout out Andrew Miller, $5 donor. With OKC 17 first and 17 seconds, if their scouting isn't completely incompetent, they should be scary in 3 to 5 years. And yes, it'll be interesting to see what they're able to get out of this massive haul of picks that they've traded for in the previous couple of seasons. It'll be interesting to watch them going forward. And then shout out Apple's $3 Australian donation. He says, ball movement getting better, fellas. Good D tonight. Yeah, I'm not going to take away anything from this game in terms of like, we're seeing something improve just because we're playing the Thunder. Hopefully it improves, but I'm going to wait and see how it looks like against the Jazz, against the Clippers, and against some good teams, because I feel like those games are how you have to judge this team. Otherwise, they've had some good performances in this year and in previous years against bad teams where they've moved the ball and where they've played good defense, right? But if you're going to hold this team to a contention level standard, you got to judge them based off what they do against other contenders, and they haven't done good. They have not played at a contender level status because any good team can beat a bad team. Okay, any good team can have a good night and blow out a G League roster, which is basically that's the equivalent of the Thunder roster right now. But contenders, they beat other contender level teams, or at least are very competitive against them. We haven't really been all that competitive. We have a lot of blowout losses against contention level teams. I mean, we're just coming off one against the Bucks. We got blown out against them twice. That's just an example. So we got to wait and see what we do against legitimate teams in order to judge potential improvements in the style of play.
Yeah, and you hope though that like things from this game carry over, and you see like good ball movement, and you're like, okay, now let's integrate that into the next game and see what like passing the ball like in this one does against a better team. So that's the only hope I'd have from a game like this, is that this stuff works so well in this game that like, okay, let's play this way in our next game. But yeah, until I see us play well against a good team, I'm not going to be confident in that. I hope, obviously, I'm wrong about that, and we start playing well against some of these good teams, because our schedule gets a lot tougher coming up. So, and real quick to Andrew Miller's donation, the thing is, you can't draft all those players. Like, they can't draft 34 players over the next few years. So they're going to have to maneuver, and it won't be just scouting. It'll be how well they use those picks to get the players they're coveting, and how much of that they're willing to give up. You saw a team like Boston, who had just this treasure trove of picks, not to this extent, obviously, but they ended up like holding on to most of them and not really trading for some stars, say like a Jimmy Butler or someone, when they had a chance to do it. And now that they've used all those picks, they don't really have much except for their own picks to trade in future drafts. So like getting someone like Vucevic or Aaron Gordon at the deadline, they don't really have the same ability to do that. So it'll be interesting to see if they take advantage of that, like Andrew says, and scouts out well and gets a bunch of good players, or if they just completely like squander those opportunities and just get a bunch of average guys that can't find a star. Yeah, it'll definitely be something to watch for the next few years.
Yep. Shout out to Near Zero 12 for the $5 dono. Hope you're having a good night, Near Zero. He says the one thing improved is Nurk going strong to the basket the last few games. Yeah, Nurkic needs to go strong. Now, it's easy to go strong when Alexis Pokushevsky is standing in your way. I mean, that dude is a stick. Like, that dude probably weighs half of what Nurkic weighs. But that dunk was still impressive, and, you know, you don't want to see him fade. You know, you don't want to see him trying to do some finesse stuff on a guy that's like half his weight, you know, half his mass. He needs to go strong against everybody. So it's nice to see, and hopefully we continue to see that.
Yeah, I like aggressive Nurk. I like aggressive everyone on this team. So yeah, the stronger we took it, I thought Powell made a concerted effort to take the ball towards the rack tonight as well. So I like that aggressive mindset. Don't just settle for threes, especially if they're not falling, which wasn't the case tonight. But in games past, we've seen us just shoot ourselves out of the games because we're not taking it hard to the rim. And I'd like to just see that improve a little bit and be aggressive all the time.
Yep, agreed. And then shout out Kyle Wilson for $5 dono. Mike Rice better than Jordan Kent. Good game against a bad team. Zags played well. Also, you guys see Dame in the new Space Jam trailer. Dude's a Terminator. Yeah, the like character for Dame looks pretty sick.
Goon Squad.
Yeah, I don't know. What'd you say?
He's part of the Goon Squad.
Oh, I never watched the first one, so I don't even I'll get my introduction when I watch that one.
The like bad team in the first one was the Monstars, but this one they're called the Goon Squad. It's a playoff of Toon Squad from the first one. Yeah,
got you. Okay, yeah. So I guess Dame is a bad guy. Actually, you know what? I'm rooting for the Goon Squad in this year's Space Jam because LeBron's a Laker, so I'm not rooting for the good guy because he's actually the bad guy.
Well, it'll be interesting because in the first one, the Monstars steal the powers of other NBA players to play against Michael Jordan. So so I don't know if that's going to be the same thing in this one where they just stole Damian Lillard's powers or something. So it's not really Dame; it's just like someone using his basketball ability.
In that case, yeah, you got to wait for LeBron to get Dame's power back, man. But honestly, and if that actually happened, LeBron would be just be like, I still got mine. I'm gonna win championships.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mike Rice, Jordan Kent. Oh, better than Jordan Kent. Yeah, I haven't been enjoying Jordan Kent's commentary this year. That's just my honest opinion. Nothing personal. That's just how I feel.
Rice, I mean, yeah, it's probably according to some of his takes on Twitter, he's probably shouldn't be announcing anymore.
Yeah.
But like a game like this, it was always fun still to just listen to what Mike would say, and that was always entertaining. It always felt like you were watching a game, you know, with your friends or whatever when Mike and Mike were on it. And nowadays it just seems like they're just trying to force these narratives about excuses and reasons for things that happen that are bad and like excusing it all away. And it just kind of, I don't know. I don't like that kind of announcing. I prefer more straight shooters, and that's why we try to give you that type of programming and content where we try to tell you how it is and how we really feel about situations instead of just like putting the sugar coat on everything.
Yep. And then shout out Andrew Miller, $5 dono. He says, is it fair to say we have elite personnel with abhorrent? I might have butchered that word. I don't care.
So you got it.
Is that how you say it? Abhorrent? I've never actually tried. I've seen it spelled a lot of times. I've never actually really heard somebody use it. So with abhorrent coaching, making us a middle-of-the-road team when we should be top 3 seed or better. I mean, if you take somebody who's saying fire Olshey now and take them back 3 years ago when they were saying fire Olshey back then you said, okay, here's what Olshey's going to do, right? You got Al-Farouq Aminu and Maurice Harkless, who you can't stand. Well, guess what? He's going to replace them with a 20-point per game scorer who plays good defense, who shoots 45% from three, is athletic, and can finish around the rim. And then the other forward is going to be Robert Covington. I think they would say, oh my goodness, oh, Olshey, that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal. You know what I mean? Like, you look at our starting lineup. I know Norman Powell's like slightly undersized, but he's not as undersized as you think. 8 foot, 7 foot standing reach. He has a very long wingspan that, and he's also very strong. So he makes up for like his lack of height with long wingspan, because you don't play basketball at the top of your head. You play basketball with your hands, with your arms, with your reach. Your reach is more relevant. Your standing reach is more relevant than your height. Your height isn't as relevant. So everybody just looks at height and bases whether or not a player is undersized based off that. But you got to take into account standing reach and wingspan. And Norman Powell has like a 6'11 wingspan, or 6'10, 6'11, somewhere like that. So, I mean, the dude's a 20-point per game scorer coming in. Super efficient, athletic, can take the ball to the rim and finish strong, can shoot threes at an extremely high level, and then you got Robert Covington. I mean, isn't that what they wanted? We just got to fix our forwards. Well, there, he fixed them. You got these two guys, and now they're still complaining. I don't get it. I love the personnel on this team. I agree with it. I think we should definitely be a contention level team. A lot of people see it differently. I just disagree. I love the makeup of this roster. Just need to improve some things in terms of how we play. I think that's the biggest obstacle.
Well, that's my biggest problem when people say we're so negative about, like, especially the coaching and stuff. They're like, you get these people on Twitter who are always like, you need to be positive about everything, And, like, the funny part is we think higher of our players than most of those people arguing with us do, right? They don't think our personnel or our roster is balanced or as good as you and I believe it is or can be. And we feel like they're not getting enough out of it, whereas some of these people think they're getting more than ever possible, or you saw Dan Moraine when CJ and Nurk went down, like, we'd be lucky the next 20 games to even win one game. Like, that kind of attitude. So when we go, 15-5 or whatever it was during that stretch, like, then all of a sudden they're like, oh my goodness, this is the best coaching job ever, or whatever, not recognizing that Olshey put a very deep roster together this year that could withstand a couple of key injuries. They probably couldn't have withstood it if it was Dame that went out, but as long as we have that guy and a few competent players around him, we're going to be fine and we're okay. So, it's just a situation where Tori and I believe in this team. We believe it could be I think it should be like 15th to 18th at defense at worst, in my opinion, even with the injuries. I feel like the offense, despite being, 5th to 7th most of the year, could be near the top if they, ran better offense and better sets and stuff like that, move the ball, things like that. So it's just a matter of perception, I think, and Tori and I believe in this team still, and that's why we get so frustrated when we make silly coaching decisions or don't play a certain way when we know that way works and this other way doesn't. Yet we hear all these excuses for why they have to play this game a certain way and why they can't change it in the middle of a season because they don't have practice time and all this kind of stuff. It drives me crazy, and I just want to make sure everyone knows that we believe in this team, and that's why we're so passionate about, like, when things go bad, about wanting it to be better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm higher on this roster than a lot of people, and the same people that scream positivity at me then clown me for thinking this roster is good. You know what I mean? It's just like it doesn't make sense to me. But no, I mean, we should have the number one offense, in my opinion, if we ran good offensive stuff. I mean, that's just how I feel, But this isn't going to be like anything like a criticizing the coaching stream, We'll answer your questions in a don't know. But I mean, let's just make this about the roster. I just love the roster. I love the makeup of this roster. The only thing is, I don't know. You you see Giles come in and do what he did. I know it's garbage time and whatnot, but he's a much better defender than Canner, and I think he's a better fit next to Melo. And it's just like, I don't know. Canner was great as a starter, but I don't know, man. Like, Canner's the better player. I feel like Giles still might be the better fit as the backup center. I mean, a lot of people won't agree with that, but...
Yeah, Cantor's playing too good to even consider that in my mind. But here's the problem, though, real quick. We had a chance prior to Giles getting hurt, and then a few games after he came back, when we didn't have a backup center because Nurk was out. Mm-hmm. So that's when he should have gotten the opportunity and gotten 20 to 25 minutes in those games to see if that was even a possibility. But now at this point, people are just like, oh, he's lost on D, he can't play. And then you see flashes like tonight or during preseason, and then you wonder, like, well, if he was given a legit chance to earn those minutes, would he run with them or would he just disappear? And I felt like he didn't get like a legit chance at those minutes. So it's kind of hard to tell, but I think at this point it's kind of hard to just play him over Cantor.
Yeah, but it's just, playing. I mean, but Giles is going to be noticeable. But we need defense, right?
Yeah.
Giles is going to be noticeably better than Cantor defensively. And if they staggered things more, where Melo played more next to Nurkic and Covington played more next to Cantor, then I wouldn't feel as strongly about it. But it's like, we need defense in that position. Giles is a far better defensive player than Cantor. And, bro, I still think Giles is far underrated by this fan base. I mean, he comes in today 3 for 3 from the three-point line. The dude can shoot the ball. The dude can absolutely shoot the ball. The dude can pass the ball. The dude, has struggled a little bit finishing, but he can pass and he can shoot threes at the center spot. Like, offensively, Cantor's better, but I don't think there's as much of a gap as people think. The big gap is on the boards, but I don't know. It's just like what Giles could bring defensively, and I don't think the offense is that far off. I don't know. Like, you saw Boston last year give a couple young guys a shot over Cantor and in the playoffs, and it paid off. That was Robert Williams, and they played Daniel Tice over him because they value defense. It's just like, I don't know. I wish Giles got more of a shot because obviously he just looks like an outlier, but it's like, it seems like he never got comfortable here, and then he got hurt, and then he comes back and we don't give him a chance to play when we absolutely should. And then it's like, okay, so he doesn't play, and then, we're blowing out OKC here, 16 minutes for Giles, and pops off 3 out of 3 threes, 4 for 5 from the field, 12 points in 16 minutes. And it's just like, the dude is talented. I've watched him before he came here. The dude has a lot of talent. And he hasn't been comfortable here. We haven't utilized his playmaking. I don't know. It's just like, it's a shame because I feel like he could potentially be a better option just given what we need at the backup center, but like, we never got him comfortable, never gave him a true shot.
But we always develop our personnel great, right?
Yeah, that's always the narrative, But see, like Black Boy says, Giles isn't what you think it is. The proof is in the pudding. What proof and what pudding? Like, the limited amount of time that he's played this year and hasn't really been able to get comfortable in our stagnant offense. We haven't utilized his playmaking. Like, he's been on a unit that's just been clunky at best. It's better now, but he hasn't gotten a chance lately. So he's barely gotten a chance. Like, I don't understand how it's like people can watch a few games this year, basically, that he plays and just make up their minds on him as a player. I don't agree with that. I've watched him play in Sacramento. The dude is talented. You can go back and watch how he played in Sacramento and tell that the guy is talented. And that's on a much bigger sample size than anything he showed here. So I feel like people underrate him drastically.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say to that, though, is we know Stotts isn't going to do those things. So he's just going to come in and play the way Stotts wants him to play, not letting him be himself. So obviously in garbage time he can do whatever he wants. It's not like he has to play within the structure of a stagnant offense or do like drop in on defense when that's not what he is comfortable doing. So I just think at this point, I mean, it's a shame, but I think we've kind of missed out on a chance to see what Giles could do this year, short of obviously another injury or someone having to sit out or something
Well, I
happening.
just think if we value defense like we should, we would consider playing Giles over Canner at some point. Like, I don't know. Like, we have so much offense. Is playing
But
Canner at the backup center really raising the performance of our offense more than it's,
I
like
mean,
I feel like Giles would help as much defensively as Canner helps offensively just because we're already a high octane offense as it is.
I don't agree with that at all. In our particular defensive scheme, Giles is basically, uh, I don't know what the right word is,
Well,
but his skill set is
yes,
rendered
but
somewhat useless. So,
that's what I'm saying though is like if we had a good defensive coach who would
yeah,
actually utilize
well,
Giles
yeah,
properly
absolutely,
defensively,
absolutely.
yeah,
But we're talking about right now, this situation, we have Stotts. So, yeah, and Cantor, I don't believe that the problems are because of Cantor. I think he's been great, and I
do you think
think
he's
you
been
can
great
still do stuff
defensively?
with him. Not defensively necessarily, but he's been adequate on the defensive end. It's not he's not the problem we have. Is he's not the reason why our defense sucks, in my opinion. And I don't know. I feel like Cantor's been so good this year that it's kind of doing a disservice to like blame him for any of our problems.
Yeah, I hear you, and I don't even necessarily disagree with that. It's just we got to figure out ways to make the defense better. And if
No,
getting healthy doesn't figure it out, like Stotts needs to change things up schematically, but I mean, we got to improve the defense somehow. And I feel like Giles has a lot of untapped offensive skill that if we tapped into, it wouldn't really be much of a drop off offensively. That's just how I feel. I've always been a big believer in Giles. Obviously, we're not going to see it, so it's kind of just a moot conversation. But that's how I feel about it.
you didn't see the quick article today, obviously.
Nope.
Yeah.
What was that?
Oh, we're 50 games into the season. There's no way possible we can change any of our schemes. We're stuck with hoping it works out.
Yeah, that's stupid. That's just stupid.
Yep.
I heard about that. That's just ridiculous. I don't even want to
Yep.
go in on that because I want to make this post game show a positive one because I'm feeling good.
Yep.
Shout out Ben Hewitt, 3 Australian dollar dono. Rondé Hollis Jefferson, what a signing, low risk, high reward. I like it. He's probably not going to play though, so it's kind of just meh at this
No,
point.
he'll fix our defense, right?
Well, yeah, that means he won't play then. You know what I mean? Like, we don't value defense like that. I mean, the dude can't shoot a corner three, so obviously he's useless, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. They haven't even officially announced the signing yet.
It's been planning on signing him for
Yeah.
a couple days.
Uh,
So.
there is the reason why he's not with the team yet is there when you sign a free agent from that hasn't been on another team, there's like some health and safety protocol issues they have to clear
Mm-hmm.
before they can join the team. So they're just waiting for that period to be over and him to pass a certain amount of tests before he can practice and be around the team.
Yep. Shout out Polly Ross, $2 donation. Jeremy Lin for insurance and vet for playoffs. I mean, we still have another roster spot that we can fill without going into the tax. So maybe they sign somebody else, but Olshey seems to just want to do the bare minimum in terms of filling roster spots. So I wouldn't expect another signing.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to have some insurance, but yeah, I don't know what they're thinking with that. They didn't never use the two-way. Obviously, they're trying to save as much money as possible, even though they wouldn't go over the tax with another signing. But yeah, I'd be surprised if they use the last roster spot.
Yep. Tyler says Marquise Chris would be a good guy to try out. He's out for the season. He's injured.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, like Jeremy Lin would be cool. Emmanuel Mudiay would be cool. At a point guard or a big. Honestly, we could use either at this point. Probably.
Even though Giles isn't playing, and he just
I mean, yeah, but yes, I mean, but like Nurkic has been a little bit injury prone, and so is Giles. I just don't want to get stuck with one center at any point again. But also, we only have three guys that can really run the point. I mean, honestly, CJ Ellaby could run the point a little bit. You just don't want that guy shooting threes, but otherwise, like he's shown that he can defend and hustle. Like you're definitely not in a good shape if you have him in the game. But I guess he could be our fourth string point. I don't know. So probably would rather have it be a point than a big. just because you don't want to be stuck with one point guard.
Mm-hmm.
Or, even
Well,
two, you would want a third guy there in case somebody gets in foul trouble or in case something happens.
as Sotvik says, Zach still has an outside chance of coming back at some point and would provide some big depth if that was the plan. I don't know if he will or not. He's with the team. It's encouraging that he's there, and I'm not going to depend on that or think of it that way. But from a team perspective, there is a chance they could get a fourth center eventually.
Yeah. Okay, Eric. So since we had this debate, if Collins comes back and is healthy, and it comes down to him or Cantor, what are you doing there? Are you still playing Cantor?
Yeah, I think this, with how late in the season Collins will come back, and there's going to be a little bit of keeping his value down, probably trying to re-sign him for cheap next year versus if he gets inserted as that backup center and plays well, even though that might help the team. I don't know. There might be some politics involved there.
If that's okay, if that's the case, I'll be mad. I'll be mad because you're talking about what he might raise his value like $3-4 million a year. What does that matter? They're going in the tax anyway. Sure, it's going to cost them some extra money, but you got to try and win games. So if it helps the team, you can't try and save a couple $1 million in the future and sacrifice the potential to win now. Now, you don't go out and sign Austin Rivers to the biannual exception and spend and lose $50 million to get Austin freaking Rivers over the next 3 years like Eric Griffith wants. You don't do that. But, I mean, if it comes down to it, I don't care about keeping his value down. If he's healthy, then make the decision based on who is better for the team. And I'm just worried that when we get into playoffs, in the playoffs, teams really target poor defensive bigs in the pick and roll. And we can say whatever we want about the scheme. I think no matter what, Collins is better for any scheme than Cantor is. And he's had and he's had a big impact in the playoffs before, especially against Denver in the second round back in 2019 when he was only in his second season. So if Collins comes back and is healthy, that's a decision they have to make, because Collins can make a difference, a big difference defensively. And that's what I'm worried about with our bench unit is we got guys that can score, but if guys aren't hitting shots, defensively, it is not good. You got Derrick Jones Jr., that's the only good defensive player on it right now. You got Anthony, you got Melo, you got Cantor. So that's kind of the worry with the bench's defense.
Yeah, so Near 012 thinks that Giles is a better option than Collins. Thanks for the $5 donation again, Near 012. If Collins is healthy, he's absolutely better defensively than Giles, in my opinion.
I think Giles is better offensively, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell because Collins was looking like he was going to show a lot. I mean, he can't handle the ball like Giles, so that'll always be an advantage Giles has. But Collins, I want to say this just again for the record. Collins would absolutely help this team. He is a glue guy. He does all the right things. He's always in the right spots. He is a great help defender. Just having that guy would improve our defense a lot more than just playing a guy like Giles, in my opinion. But Collins, during that playoff run you mentioned, it was mostly at power forward that he played a lot of his minutes. He was going to be the starting power forward the next year. So I don't know if it necessarily has to come down to playing him or Cantor. Maybe there'd be some lineups where you play them together, just like they could with Giles, like they did tonight. So maybe against some teams, the answer would be to play Collins some minutes at the 4 and move Rocco down to the 3 and have a little bit bigger lineup as well.
Yeah. I mean, you say it'd help us, but it's who's he going to get his minutes from then if it's not going to be Cantor?
I don't know.
Like Melo? I mean...
Well, you could cut Simon's minutes and then play, bring Powell off the bench or bring him out early enough to come back with the second unit. So you have CJ Powell, Jones or Melo. I don't know. It's kind of based on how they play. But overall, I don't think Collins is going to get much of a chance to play minutes this year. But,
Yeah, I just like the hypothetical debate. It's fun,
yeah,
especially on a night where we blow a team out by 48,
yeah.
but it's a terrible team and there's not really much to write home about. It's an interesting discussion for people out there. I know there's a lot of split opinions on a lot of these guys, a lot of these big men.
Honestly, we had this conversation in the off season because we were thinking we were 11 deep, right? And then Collins is out till mid-January initially, and that kind of saved us from having to think about it right then. But if Collins was healthy either for the start of the season or in mid-January like he was supposed to be, like obviously he would have been playing because Nurk was out, but it would have been interesting to see had we not got injured and had Zach back, how everyone would fit into this equation. Because I think maybe as a trade deadline it goes a little differently, and we maybe can trade a Cantor or someone like that because we have the depth. But obviously it didn't really work out to do that this year.
Yeah, I mean, hypothetically, we match up best against the Lakers with a front court trio of Covington, Collins, and Nurkic, because Collins is just quick enough with his feet to be able to kind of hang on Davis on the perimeter, and then of course he has the size to deal with Davis, so there's not many guys that could stick with Anthony Davis, but Zach Collins is one of the guys who I feel like, just like his physical tools, he's like one of the few guys that has the size as well as the foot speed to kind of hang with him. Obviously, he's not going to shut him down, but you're just trying to slow him down. And then Rocco with the 3 to put up against LeBron. And both Collins and Rocco are really good help side defenders. You got Nurkic there protecting the rim. If they're playing AD at the 4, I don't know if that's the plan going into the playoffs for them or what the plan is once AD gets back and healthy. But, I mean, like, Collins adds a big man who can like slide laterally that can also protect the rim, because Giles can slide laterally, but he's not really much of a rim protector. Nurkic is a rim protector, and I mean, we've seen him slide laterally a little bit, but I'd probably rather have like Collins out on the perimeter guarding an AD than a Nurkic. At least that just saves Nurkic for foul trouble. So if he can get back and get healthy, it adds an interesting tool. It'll be interesting to see if Stotts ever even gives him a chance. I don't know. I mean, the dude was a starter, so it's not like a Giles coming in here as a young guy who's never had a role for this team. Collins was the starting power forward last season, so if he does get healthy, it'll be interesting to see what Stotts does with him, because some of these minutes is going to have to get cut. Like, it's going to be hard to start Powell and not play Anthony, unless like it's just going to be hard because your Powell is getting minutes at the 3 if he's starting at the 3. Like, if you want to cut Anthony's minutes, you almost have to take Powell out of the starting lineup, or just sub him out early in the first and third quarters. I don't know. It just creates a lot of weird things. But like, the only way you can get Nurkic, Rocco, Melo, Cantor, and Collins like legitimate minutes is if Rocco's playing a ton of small forward. So it would be hard to sort it out.
Or Melo's playing small forward, I guess.
I mean, but you don't want that. You don't want that. I mean, yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I just have a feeling they're going to just bring back Zach really slow and limit him if he plays at all. I'd be surprised if he gets inserted back in the starting lineup or is playing the backup center over Cantor. I just don't see that happening much this year. But I've wanted a roster where you could play situationally instead of, this person comes in at this point and this person does this, no matter who's doing well or who's playing right now. So it'll be interesting to see if we do get fully healthy at some point this season. We're close, other than now Derek Jones is hurt, I guess, but we're getting so close to only having Zach on the injury report, which would be nice.
Yep. I mean, Derek Jones Jr. has been banged up, nicked up all year. But I mean, the Blazers, taking it back to the game, they do take care of business tonight. Their next game is a very important one, because right now they're sitting a game and a half behind the Clippers for third place. Okay? A third seed, right? If they passed, the Clippers, Lakers, and Denver Nuggets, Portland would be a 3 seed. Denver would be the 6 seed. The both LA teams would be the 4 and 5 and would play each other in the first round, right? So you'd face Denver. If you take care of Denver, you go into the second round, you face Phoenix, okay? And then you go, if you take care of them, you go into the Western Conference Finals and you're playing either an LA team or probably the Jazz. So, like, path-wise, right now it looks like the 3 seed is probably what you want to get if you're the Portland Trailblazers. Now, if the Lakers fall all the way to 6th, which is extremely possible, obviously, that shakes things up a little bit. You probably don't want to deal with a healthy Lakers team in the first round. I don't know. It's kind of a weird standing situation, but I just want to try and pick up as many wins as possible. It's going to be hard to catch the Suns, but the only way we have a chance is if we win a lot of games. So you got a game against the Clippers coming up. If they beat the Clippers, they will be a half game behind them for 3rd. If they beat the Clippers 2 days from now. So it's getting into the swing of things where we got to take care of business against good teams. That's why I don't know, it feels kind of weird to even focus too much on this game. You know what I mean? This is just a weird kind of situation where we blow a team out by 48. It's nice to see. It's fun to see. But it doesn't mean anything because we've seen this team have success against bad teams. We got to perform against good teams. I don't know. Is that kind of how you feel with this post-game show right now? Because that's kind of how I'm feeling.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, I mean, that's a point we've hit home for 2 years now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we can look at things statistically. I'll, pour through the box score, I guess. CJ plays 26 minutes. Nice to see him only play that much. Dame only played 25. That's good to see. CJ has 20 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, 8 for 14 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3. So a good night from him. Dame has 16 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds, 3 steals, 25 minutes with 6 for 15, 3 for 7 from 3. So solid night from him in limited time. Powell in 24 minutes got 13 shots. I like to see that. He was 6 for 13, 2 for 5 from 3. He had 15 points and 4 boards. Nurkic, I thought, just stat line wise was impressive. No, I didn't really watch him, but just looking at the stat line and a couple of the plays that I did see, the replays, had a decent outing tonight. In 18 minutes, he had 9 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. So, did they utilize Nurkic's playmaking, or was it kind of off broken plays, off of just situational stuff, or were they really making an effort to utilize him as a playmaker?
He had one where I forgot if he got a steal or something, but he got the ball, dribbled it down, and ran the fast break. Had a nice dish off of that. He has those plays where you give it to him up top, and you can just tell he's going to force the pass, whether it's there or not. So he had several of those. I think other than that, most of his just came within normal passes in the offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, still good to see that stat line. Also had 2 steals in those 18 minutes, so that's nice to see. Canner got garbage minutes with the bench squad because for some reason Blevins, I don't know if they didn't have him suited up or whatnot, Blevins wasn't in the game. But Canner played the most minutes, played 30 minutes, had 12 points, 17 boards, 4 assists, 6 for 13 from the field. So impressive stat line. Wasn't an efficient night from him, though. Nas, 13 points, 8 boards, 2 assists in 24 minutes. He's 5 for 7 from the field, 2 for 4 from the three-point line. That's kind of the thing with Derrick Jones Jr. If he's out for a little bit, you got Nas back now because Nas was out for a little bit, and it's always fun to watch Nas play.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a treat.
It's buried treasure. Shout out Michael Flordelis, $2 dono. What's your ideal playoff matchups down the stretch? Probably what I said earlier. If we get the 3 seed, it's unlikely that if we get the 3 seed, it would very likely be one of the LA teams or Denver in the first round. I'd probably want to face Denver out of those 3 teams in the first round as the 3 seed, and then the second round take on the Suns, and then in the Western Conference Finals take on the Jazz. That would be the ideal playoff matchup stretch for the Blazers. I think they would have a chance to win all those series if that happened. I feel like the 2 LA teams are the 2 teams that come playoff time, if they're healthy, will be the best teams in the West and will be the hardest matchups for the Blazers too. We always struggle against the Clippers. They always have hot shooting nights against us. Even when they were missing a number of guys in the bubble last year, they beat us. They already blew us out to start this year. I feel like for whatever reason, we don't perform well against the Clippers, and then the Lakers are the Lakers, obviously. So Those two teams being 4 and 5th, and us being 3rd, and Denver being 6th, and Phoenix being 2nd, and Utah being 1st, I think is ideal.
With the Clippers, though, they are still this season struggling in a lot of fourth quarters of games. And we've seen this year that we're actually a good fourth quarter team, maybe not against their level of defense, but that might be an interesting dynamic to watch. Obviously, the Lakers, if they're healthy, you probably don't want any of that, especially considering then we'll be like, get all the same excuses that we've been hearing the last few days about, well, name a series where the Blazers were more talented and lost or whatever. Like, I don't want to hear those things, even if we get the 3 seed and they're the 6 seed, because then we have to listen to everyone predict the Lakers. And then if we lose, we like, well, what do you think we're going to do? Beat the Lakers, all that kind of stuff. But overall, I hate playing the matchup game. It's something that, it's a good question, a good thing to talk about. But I'm always of the opinion, do as best as you can do as a team. Don't try to get a certain seed to match up with someone, because that can come back to bite you. You can just as easily lose to someone that you want to match up with, or give that motivation as you can to beat a team that you do match up well
so
with.
Hold up. Last game of the season, you're saying that if the Blazers won, they would get a first round matchup against the Lakers, and if they lost, they would get a matchup against the Nuggets. You would want them to win and get that matchup against the Lakers?
Wait, what? Say that again?
Like last game of the season, all right? So we played Denver, I think, last game of the season, whatever. Yeah. But say it comes down to, if we lose that game, we face the Nuggets in the first round. If we win that game, we face the Lakers. You would want them to win that game and face the Lakers?
If it meant home court advantage, even though like home court doesn't mean as much this year, I don't like losing to a team just to play that team later on.
What if it doesn't mean home court advantage? Let's say, because this is a very realistic possibility, potentially.
What would have to help?
Like, if the Nuggets were 5th and the Lakers were 6th, then we were on the edge of being 3rd or 4th. And if we won, we were 3rd and faced the 6th place Lakers. Or if we lost, we'd be 4th and play the 5th place Nuggets. I don't know. I agree with it, because me and you were on board with, like, let's take on the Thunder back 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Let's not throw the final game.
Everyone was like, they have Paul George, they have Westbrook, they have Melo. Or no, they didn't have Melo at the time. But like everyone was saying, they're going to be just dominate us. They were 4-0 against us that regular season, and I think we're 2-2 against Utah that year or something, and then we just like completely dominate them, and it was one of the more satisfying series in my lifetime as a Blazer fan, watching them just abuse this team that went all in on these guys and talk so much crap and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I'm just of the opinion, yes, obviously I would rather have an easier path to get to the Western Conference Finals, but if we're not like set up well enough to beat some of these teams at some point, then obviously you don't want to have the hardest matchup right in the first round. But I just don't like losing on purpose in any situation unless it's just to get someone rest. But that's always going to be their excuse, so you'll never really know their true intentions of it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would rather play... Thinking about it deeper, I'd rather play the Lakers in the first round, because either we can beat the Lakers and then we have a chance of contending if we can take care of the Lakers, right? Or we lose in the first round and Stotts gets fired, right? I feel like worst case scenario would be to play the Nuggets, and the Nuggets just struggle, and where they're a good matchup for us potentially, and we win in 7 games and make it to the second round, then just get cleaned out by the Lakers or the Clippers or somebody or the Suns. But then Stotts doesn't get fired because we made it to the second round because we beat the Nuggets. So honestly, I probably don't care either. But that's for like reasons beyond just the matchup itself. That's obviously has to do with like who our coach is going forward.
Yeah, and I felt like there were some things we could have exploited better last year. Obviously, we didn't have the wings to match up with the Lakers, so that kind of stuck. But then, we have some success guarding AD with Wenyan, and then, we for some reason bench him, and then AD goes off the
Mm-hmm.
game we bench him, and just stuff like that. Like I don't know. I'd rather just get the best seed you can get, and like do as best as you can. I think. I mean, if this team is healthy, I don't count them out in any series against any team in the West right now. Other than the fact that our coaching is hard to overcome in those series.
Yep. Yep. So I mean, well, obviously we'll get there when we get there. Um, Team just has to take care of business. Schedule coming up after this one. We have the Clippers next, and then the Jazz. Both games on the road, right? So you want to win one of the two, right? I said before this 4 game stretch with Milwaukee, OKC, LA, and Utah, I said go at least 2-2. Go at least 2-2. That means beating OKC and beating one of Milwaukee, LA, and Utah. But you want 3-1, right? We're 1-1, okay? You want to at least split this road trip. Now, it's 2 tough teams, but we gotta at least I don't know, 2-0 would be nice. But I would settle for our most impressive win of the entirety of 2021 on this road trip, other than maybe Philly, right? Our most impressive win in 2021, other than Philly, is Dallas. Okay, beating LA or Utah would be more impressive than that. So, just win, just beat a good team, please, for the first time in forever. I mean, we don't beat good teams, so want to take care of business against the Clippers or the Jazz. Hopefully both, obviously, but just win one of these 2 games on the road. Because then you come back home, you got Detroit, you got Miami, you got Boston, you got San Antonio, you got Charlotte. That's 5 games, all teams that are around 500 or worse. So it is, we do have a genuinely okay stretch after this 2-game road trip against the Clippers and the Jazz. Now, Miami has been injured, so they're better than their record suggests. They were injured against us. That's why I don't count that as a good win. Boston has been around 500, but they've lost a ton of close games, so I feel like they're a better team than their record gives them credit for. So obviously those aren't easy games per se, but, I mean, they're not like the test that the Clippers or Jazz will provide us. So I want to see if they can carry this momentum from this blowout into at least one of the next 2 games and take care of business against a good team.
And part of the problem is we've seen this before. We're kind of the recipe for a struggling team to get right against with how weak our defense is. So, yeah, this is just going to be a great couple games here to see where we're a measuring stick for how we're at or how we're comparing to those teams at this point in the season.
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, you got a chance to make some ground against the Clippers. They're not going to catch the Jazz. I'm not even going to put that out there. But the Clippers game, I would rather have the Clippers game than the Jazz game because they got a legitimate chance to catch the Clippers right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a big one in terms of standings if you want to move up.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, after that 5-game road, or after that 5, okay, so you got LA and Utah, right? The tough 2-game road trip. And then you got Detroit, Miami, Boston, San Antonio, Charlotte, that 5-game stretch of teams around 500 or worse. Right. Then you got the Clippers again and Denver. So another set at 2 games that are against good teams. But then after that, you got Memphis, Indiana, Memphis. So you got another 4 genuinely easy-ish games. 3 of them are against Memphis. Indiana's been a little bit below 500. So if I'm counting correctly, out of the next 13 games, only 4, I would say, are against legitimate playoff teams right now. And that's 2 games against the Clippers, 1 against Utah, 1 against Denver. Every other game, you got 1 against Boston, 1 against Miami. Miami's a legitimate playoff team if healthy, so I guess that's 5. But, it's not as hard as you would think. The thing is, after that, April 30th, I'm just going through the whole thing here. You got Brooklyn. After all the games that I've mentioned, after the 3 and 4 against Memphis. Then you got Brooklyn, you got Boston, maybe they're playing better. You got Atlanta, who's been around 500. Cleveland is trash, but then you got the Lakers, who should be healthy. You got the Spurs, you got the Rockets, which suck, but then you end the season with Utah, Phoenix, Denver. So May is tough. But hopefully we're able to build momentum and play our best basketball now.
Yeah, and speaking of like schedules, so I got thrown into an argument last night, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, you have the whole the Blazers are 10 games over 500 still. They've been great. And then you mentioned the weak schedule, and they're like, well, we just haven't had a chance to play tough games. So this guy was like saying basically we haven't beaten any good teams because we haven't hardly played any of them. But then he was bragging about how could you be down on this team when they're 10 games above 500 and
Well,
with all the injuries
they haven't beaten
it's
anyone.
like, well, yeah, because they haven't played anyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, the guy ended up blocking me for pointing out just I
That's
wasn't
just
even arguing with
sensitive.
him, but yeah, it's
That's just
just yeah.
sensitive. I mean,
But like I just don't get it when people say like, oh, they've done so well without the injuries, and then like excuse away things when they struggle against good teams. It's like if we would have had this schedule when we had injuries, it would have went the same way. So
hmm
just opposite parts of the season. But
yeah. I mean, they could step up and have good showings against good teams, and that'll kind of change the narrative a little bit. I'm just saying they got to prove it against good teams. And Dame kind of said that too. Dame said they haven't done well against good teams so far this year. That's Dame basically saying the same thing that I'm saying in my mind. They haven't performed well against good teams. They got to start performing well against good teams because what happens when you play in the playoffs, you're going to play good teams because it's the playoffs. So if you're trying to project this team for success in the postseason, you can't do it based off of bad teams. You can be happy with the record, but it's not indicative of how good or bad this team is played. It's not indicative of much because we haven't really played anybody. So, what is going to be indicative of how this team is and how far along they are is going to be how we perform against these two teams we have coming up in Utah and the Clippers, right? I said that before this 4-game stretch. How we play against Milwaukee, the Jazz, and the Clippers are going to be indicative of how far along we are. Well, we got blown up by the Bucks, okay? So if it's the same story the next two games, I'm genuinely worried. And I don't care that we'd be 30-21 because it would be 3 straight blowouts against good teams, and it would continue more the same where we struggle to even be competitive against good teams. So these two games will be telling. And I will give them the chance to play well, and if they beat the Clippers, we'll have a hype post game stream, a post game stream that's much more hype than any post game stream since the Philly game, or since the second time we beat Philly, and we will enjoy it, right? But if not, raises some red flags.
yeah. Did you happen to catch Trent's comments about
About
the differences in defense between Toronto and Portland?
no, what did he say?
Uh, it's interesting video. You might want to watch it sometime. But to paraphrase, let me find it real quick. Um, so he says, this is a quote. This is completely different than what Portland does. A lot more help, a lot more knowing assignments.
What? Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, I had to turn it off. Like
I mean, but that's what we've been saying, so I'm not surprised.
no,
It's
I know,
it's
but
just
that's like all these guys who tell us you're not the coach, you don't know, you're not in the practices, you don't understand what he's teaching them, whatever. Like just hearing those comments was like a little bit of validation to everything we've been saying that this coaching staff does not know. I mean, their intentions, I'm sure they want to have a good defense. They want to teach them defense. I just don't think they know how, and I don't think they approach it the right way. I don't think schematically it's right. I don't think scouting it's right. I don't think the way they're teaching their players to defend certain situations and certain players is right. And then you hear a comment like that, and it's just it just gives me no hope that it's going to change. And then you hear the comments from the coaching staff in the article that Quick points out today, and then you're just, when you combine all those things, it's just like, that's kind of like why I was disagreeing with you on the Giles thing. I just have no hope that things are going to get better or that we'll see a difference other than, bringing in guys that are good defenders and just kind of do whatever we can do that
I mean,
way.
I'm hoping that the personnel can help make up for the poor defensive coach. I mean, at this point, I think it's obvious this is a poorly defensive coach team. I don't even think people that like Stotts can defend that. Right? They'll make a bunch of excuses, but you'll never hear them say Stotts has any idea how to coach defense. It'll just be a bunch of excuses for why they suck. I mean, offensively, they have a ton of talent. And, I mean, I don't know. Maybe the offense can carry them in the playoffs just off of pure talent. And maybe we can maybe the intensity will step up in the playoffs because obviously we haven't been consistent in terms of our intensity. So hopefully the intensity steps up in the playoffs and it's at a level where we can be at least somewhat competitive in spite of all that, at least on the defensive end. So I don't know. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. I'm just in wait and see mode, and I feel like I've been in wait and see mode all year this year, whereas like last year it was like I was just, we gotta get a new coaching staff, new this, new that, blah, 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 blah. Like, I still kind of feel the same way, but it's just like, prove me wrong, please. Start playing defense at a high level, please. I invite you to do that. I hope you do that. That's kind of how I feel right now, too.
I'm just reading chat.
Yeah.
Are we like?
Little hiccup. Yeah, I mean... Let's take questions.
I posted
from
the
chat
link to that
want.
Trent comment in chat.
Okay. We are getting lag hiccups. Lag has been a little bit more prevalent lately, unfortunately.
But yeah, it was after last night's game that he had the comments.
Ask us questions in chat, and we will try and answer them. We haven't had... Okay, honestly, you guys can't even... I like when you tell me when there's legitimately lag, but, I mean, it's been a lot better, hasn't it? I mean, you guys can't really complain about the lag lately. It's been pretty spotless, lagged a little bit last night, lagging a little bit tonight, but, it's been pretty good. So it's not like how it was before, because I know it used to be a more commonplace thing. Wampus says, how happy is Tori about the Zags win? Extremely happy.
Oh, can I answer this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Tori is thrilled. It was one of the great moments of watching college basketball of his life tonight, but he's nervously... he's still very nervous that the job is not complete and that Monday is going to be a very stressful day for him.
Mm-hmm. Guys,
Did I sum it up well?
Yeah, I have never seen any of my teams ever win a championship in anything. I don't know what that feels like. I just want just a Blazer championship or a Niners championship or a Gonzaga championship, just to get that feeling, just to say, okay, my team won the championship, because I've never been able to say that. So, like, Gonzaga is one game away. I've seen the Niners blow 2 Super Bowls. I've seen Gonzaga lose a championship game before. The Blazers obviously have never gotten to the finals, but like I've been on the doorstep before a couple times, never had it. So back there again, possible undefeated season. I want Gonzaga to win Monday as bad as I've ever wanted the Blazers to win any game. Any game. I'm not going to say more, but I want them to win Monday as bad as I've wanted the Blazers to win any game ever. That's how it is. So I'm very happy. It was like a Dame type of moment when Suggs hit that buzzer beater. Just gave me flashbacks of, especially because I was in the arena for the first Dame buzzer beater, so that's obviously different. That was insane. Mm-hmm. I watched the second buzzer beater at home. It's that moment where the ball's in the air and you like walk up to the TV and your nose is almost pressed against it and you're just staring at the hoop and then it goes in. It's ton of fun. Hopefully my Twitter was entertaining for you guys tonight. Hopefully that was an entertaining follow, because I was just, that's how I'm watching the game. I mean, I'll be emotional on Twitter. I'll be I'll be outward with how I'm feeling. Like, yeah. Great game, by the way. Great, phenomenal basketball game.
Also, to everyone, or the few people who are saying it was lucky, like Skip Bayless, the game was tied. It's not like they lose if that shot doesn't go in, so they still could have won in double overtime.
But in that situation, I hate that because it's a bank shot, it's lucky. You want to get the ball straight on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that if it's a little,
And your momentum's all going forward, you're going to go along with it in most cases.
Mm-hmm. Here's the thing. If I'm in that situation, I'm trying to get it straight on, and I'm trying to hit the back of the rim, because if I'm a little bit short, hopefully it goes in. If I'm a little bit long, hopefully it banks it, right? Mm-hmm. You're probably not going to shoot it perfectly in that situation. So just because it banks in, I don't say that's lucky. He got good arc on it. If it was flat, there's like no chance that goes in. So he got good arc on it. He got the ball pretty much online. I mean, a lot of guys aren't hitting that shot. Let me just say that. I don't think it's a surprise that Jalen Suggs hitting that shot. He's different. A lot of guys aren't hitting that shot.
Did you hear what Mark Few said after the game about it?
What did he say? Oh, that he knew it was going in.
He said, like, he does it all the time in practice. They run those situation drills all the time, and he always makes shots like that. And he said as soon as he let it go, he knew it was going in. So that's not luck.
What's funny is Jalen Suggs said, I like that he has that confidence in me, because when I shot it, I didn't know it was going in, but it did. So thanks, coach, or something like that. It's like, yeah, I mean, I hate when people, like, there's a great moment like that and people just immediately try and downplay it or try and take away from it. I never understood that. It's so, like, enjoy, like, if I wasn't a fan of either team, I'd still enjoy that moment and just be like, oh my goodness, guy just hit a buzzer beater from almost half court to win a Final Four game, right? Or if it's a playoff game with an NBA playoff game with two teams I don't care about, and it's Game 7 and somebody hits a buzzer beater, like a bank shot. I'm just enjoying the moment of that, because that's something you don't see every day.
I always go back to the Gordon Hayward one against Duke, where if it goes in, the half court shot at the buzzer, but they lost because it didn't go in. But if it would have went in, they would have won. Yeah.
Trevin has a good point. What does luck even mean at the end of the day? Like, yeah, I mean, like, does that matter if it was lucky in somebody's, like, it doesn't matter. Like, it's a buzzer beater from almost half court to win a Final Four game in overtime of what was a phenomenal basketball game, and it created a phenomenal moment. That's I hate how people try and downplay that. But Skip Bayless has always been hating on Gonzaga. So I mean, I'm not surprised by that, and he immediately just says, how can that be one of the greatest March Madness games ever when it ended on a lucky shot? Like, shut up, man. I don't take anything that dude says seriously. He's paid to troll people. A job that a lot of people would be jealous of, by the way. Because I know you guys love to troll in here a lot of times. But yeah, I mean, Skip Bayless, has been like a Dame hater before, and I don't know. I just don't like the guy. So that type of stuff I just try to ignore. But yeah. My voice, I don't know. Does my voice sound different?
That's a little shaken.
Okay, it sounds more different to me than it probably does to you then, because I feel like my voice is just gone.
Yeah, it's not as bad as you think. If you didn't mention it, I don't think most people would have ever noticed.
Okay, good. Because, man, I lost my voice there for a second, man. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, I hope Jalen Suggs gets drafted by the Raptors. Then I will really embrace the We the Rip City movement, the Toronto Trailblazers movement. Or if the backcourt of the future there is Jalen Suggs and Gary Trent Jr.
What about Van Vliet?
Man, he can be the guard off the bench. The scoring guard off the bench. I mean, They got to go on a younger timeline, man. I think if they get a chance, hopefully they can sign and trade Lowry somewhere, or Lowry goes somewhere else. I don't think he comes back next year. Bring in Jalen Suggs, and Jalen Suggs can come off the bench behind Van Vliet or something. Like, that's just a good... I really like that three-guard combination, though, with Van Vliet, Trent, and Suggs. I just want... Like, yeah, they probably need Mobley more than Suggs, but, like, if they don't get... I think Mobley goes top 2 with Cunningham. I just want Suggs on the Raptors because I'm a Gary Trent Jr. fan, and there's been this whole, like, alliance between the Blazers and the Raptors fan base now that, like, if they had Jalen Suggs with Gary Trent Jr., that would be my second favorite team, like, by far. Just because obviously Gary Trent Jr., but then I love Jalen Suggs. So. They have Bro, Reese, what do you think they're not going to draft Jalen Suggs because they have Malachi Flynn? Come on. Come on, Reese. Every team has a third string player at pretty much every position. That doesn't mean anything.
I mean, there is a chance they don't re-sign Trent either. I mean, you would think that he's part of their long-term plans, but...
Yeah. Somebody asked, do you think the Warriors take Cunningham? I mean, if they got the number 1 pick, I would assume so.
It'd be really hard for them to get the number 1 pick. I know they have the Timberwolves pick, but it's top 3 protected this year. And their own pick right now is going to be late lottery, so they'd have to get really lucky to move up. So the chances of them getting the number 1 pick are fairly slim.
Let's sim the lottery right now, just for the hell of it. Good old Tankathon.
Charlotte number 1.
No, it was Washington number 1, Detroit number 2, Orlando number. So okay, just a little hypothetical. We haven't talked about the draft like hardly at all. If the Wizards get the number 1 pick, who do you think they should take, Eric?
They'd probably take Cunningham.
Yeah, I would think Cunningham to be their point guard of the future. Who knows? They try and get rid of Westbrook, but I think that makes sense. Then number 2, Detroit. They got a ton of centers last offseason. Do they go Mobley or do they go someone else?
They could honestly go Suggs.
Yeah, I think Jalen Green would make a lot of sense. I like Jalen Green.
Oh, you do now? Didn't you not like him?
No, I was always a fan of Jalen Green's game. I don't know. Yeah, maybe you're thinking of somebody else. I don't know. I've never been down on Jalen Green. I wish he played in college, though. Because college basketball, we've been saying if you had, like, Kuminga and Green playing in college this year.
Yeah, that's tough.
But, I mean, Detroit, it depends on how much they're bought into Killian Hayes. But Killian Hayes could be a 2-guard, too. So I think they would probably go Suggs. Number 3, Orlando, probably Mobley at that point. Because you got Bamba, but that's pretty much their only, like, long-term center, and he hasn't really panned out there. 4 would be Houston in this. I think they would probably go Jalen Green, and then 5 would be Golden State because Minnesota would fall 4 spots. So that's the thing. Like, if Minnesota, like, falls out of the top 4, it's going to be Golden State's pick. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see Golden State with, like, because there's, like, Kuminga would be a really good. Kuminga would have maybe been the number 1 pick in the draft last year. Like, the top echelon in this year's draft is legit. So, I mean, if the Warriors could get, like, Kuminga at 5 and then, like, Kispert at 13, that's just, I don't want that to happen. It's like they are, like, a super team, and then they get rewarded for mediocrity with the 2nd overall pick, the 5th overall pick, and the 13th overall pick. Like, that's just crazy.
I know this might be kind of a hot take, but as of right now, I don't know if I take Cade 1.
I don't know how to feel about him, man. I mean, like, okay, I have underrated, like, big playmaking guards that, like, have questionable outside shots and aren't, like, the most athletic players, right?
Like LaMelo.
Like LaMelo and, like, Luka. When Luka was coming to the draft, I underrated him, too. And Cade is in that mold. So, like, for all those same reasons wasn't really high on those guys, it's like those same reasons would exist for Cade Cunningham, but it's like those reasons haven't panned out in the NBA. Like, those guys still get it done. So it's hard for me to sit there and say he's not number 1. You know what I mean? I just don't know how to feel about him. Like, I don't know. He's definitely not, like, athletic for the NBA, but he's 6'8" and can handle the ball and can pass and has an array of scoring moves. And his shot was better at Oklahoma State than I think people expected. So it's tough. It's tough.
Obviously, I was with you on LaMelo. I absolutely thought Luka was the number 1 player in that draft, though. Cade is... it's a little tough because it he seemingly didn't have a lot to work with in Oklahoma State either. So how much of his playmaking was wasted on not being able to do some of the things
Mm-hmm.
he's capable of. But at the same time, like yeah, he shot well from three and he can play make, but I don't like the way he drives. I think he's kind of um, I don't know what the right word is, but like he doesn't go strong when he drives. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have like the power or the impact that Aluka had in my mind, at least going into the pros. And that could change. Obviously, he's got the frame to improve that a lot. But it's just something about the way he drives bothers me. But like I said, maybe it's just a case of him not having very good
Yeah.
teammates
Well,
and
okay.
him not being able to do much. But
Yeah. If I was to put you on the spot right now and say who is your number one player in the draft, and you had to come up with an answer, what would your answer be?
this is tough for me because it's very team dependent.
Yeah.
But I might put Mobley one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just his potential. I think he probably has the highest ceiling in this year's draft. Like the impact he could potentially make on both ends. Like he could be the next Anthony Davis. Like his
Yeah,
ceiling is the next Anthony Davis. I'm not saying
but
he's gonna get. I'm just
yeah,
saying like his ceiling, if he like pans out perfectly, is the next Anthony Davis.
I really like Green and Suggs though too. So
Yeah,
yeah,
Green's interesting.
that's tough. Yeah,
Suggs, I don't know. I don't like. I've watched him all season as a Gonzaga fan, and I don't know how I feel. Like the dude will be a really good defender, and like playmaking wise in the NBA, I think he'll be one of the best top 10 playmakers in the league in terms of as passing wise. Like he is a gifted passer. He was like he could have went and been a quarterback for Ohio State. Like like he
are you
was an
talking about
insane
Suggs?
football. Yeah, he was like Minnesota Football Player of the Year as like a quarterback, and he was also like a really good free safety. Like he could have played pretty much anywhere he wanted to, D1 for quarterback or like free safety.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what I've heard. So I mean, like the dude's just naturally gifted and sees the court really, really well. So like playmaking wise, athleticism wise, defense wise, like he will be top notch. It's just like
Man,
if
that
you're gonna take a guy number one in this load of a draft, you probably want him to have the potential to be a 25 point per game guy at some point, and I don't know if he has that.
man, that play he had where he blocked.
Mm-hmm.
Who was that? Was it Riley
Cody
at the
Riley,
rim?
yeah.
And then gets the ball, and then that full court bounce pass on the money, like that. I mean, that was the play of the game
That
outside
was
of his bank
yeah.
shot, but yeah, that guy has the skills to be really good. Uh, JM with the $2 donation, thanks JM. He says I'm very tempted to put Kaminga one or two, and it's crazy because Kaminga could end up being better than a lot of those guys, but he's going to go like 5 or 6. So a team could get a steal there if he develops too. Like this draft, unlike previous drafts, there are some very star-heavy players. So, like you said, it'll be interesting to see which team takes Suggs, knowing that he might not have that high of a ceiling, but he's going to be just really, really good and solid in the
Yeah.
NBA.
I mean, I look at like Scotty Barnes, and if he figures out how to shoot threes, he could be the best player from this draft.
Yeah.
Like athleticism wise, a very athletic guy. Per 36 in college, he averaged 6 assists per game. You know what I mean? Like, but he's more athletic, can take the ball to the hole stronger than like a Cade Cunningham can. Defensively, I think he's gonna be like a top-notch defender. Scotty Barnes is a guy who, like I said, Evan Mobley has the highest. Like Scotty Barnes has a really high ceiling, and he's gonna go 7th, 8th. That's insane to me. That's absolutely insane. He's definitely in the top 6 with Kaminga, Green, Suggs, Mobley, and Cunningham for me.
Do you see any Halliburton and Suggs? It's kind of hard because Halliburton shot so weird, but
Like in terms of what specifically?
like comparison, like player, like prospect wise.
Suggs
I think
is just so much more impressive physically that it's kind of hard to say they're similar.
Yeah, I think Suggs just like commands the offense better and is just a more he's more of a point guard, whereas Halliburton's more of a combo type guard, in my opinion.
Yeah. Suggs is a little better passer. There are some similarities, but Suggs is hard to compare to anybody. He's a pretty unique player. Like I've heard some people say Drew Holiday. I think he could be a more athletic Drew Holiday.
Cameron asked if Ethan Thompson has any future in the NBA. I'd be surprised if he makes the NBA. I mean, he's good, but
How tall
I
is
don't
he?
know. I want to say he's like 6'6" ish.
Yeah, I mean, like I could see him like ending up in like a CJ Ellaby type situation.
Yeah.
Um, but that's like best case scenario.
I
Uh,
don't. I mean,
Sha-
obviously CJ didn't have that big a height in college either, but he's listed at 6'5", so yeah, not really.
mhm.
I don't know if he's got the handles to play point in the NBA, and I don't think he's a good enough shooter to play shooting guard. So like, yeah, I think he's going to struggle. I mean, he might get a chance. There's lots of players that are worse than him that get shots and end up being good in the NBA. So
Yep.
I wouldn't say it's out of the realm of possibility, but
I will say this. Joel Ayayi is my favorite sleeper in this draft so far. I mean, I haven't watched a lot of the second round prospects, but like a lot of mock drafts have him going mid second round. I think he will definitely be a role player in the NBA.
yeah,
Definitely. Because he could shoot, like, he's shooting what? Let me see his percentage. He's shooting 39% from three this year, but he's a good defensive player. He's an extremely smart player. He's a really good rebounder for a guard. He's 6'5", but averaged 7 rebounds a game in 31 minutes per game this year. Great rebounding guard. A really, really good cutter. So can play defense, can shoot. So he's a 3-and-D guy, but he can cut as well, smart cutter, and really good rebounder. Like, he will be a role player in the NBA. I would be shocked if he's not at least a role player. Like, his floor is one of the highest floors later on in the draft. I think he'll be a steal for whatever team gets him in the second round. I think he could rise up to the first round, though, because, I mean, he was popping off today. He was the only one who showed up the first half for Gonzaga. He was phenomenal. But then, like, there's some other interesting guys like Garza, you know. I don't think he's an NBA player. I wouldn't draft him. I don't know how you feel about that, Eric. He's the
yeah,
NBA
I mean,
version
he's
of
tough.
you, the college version of you.
Nah, I'm more like Drew.
Drew Timmy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got the fundamentals, those post moves.
Who would you take between those two, like, if both are in the draft this year?
How tall is Timmy?
6'11"?
Is he that tall? He seems a little.
He seems shorter
on
than that,
face,
so I'll have to
but yeah.
look that up. 6'10".
Gar-
He's 6'10".
yeah, so he's probably like 6'8".
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're both probably not worthy of first round picks, but yeah. Garza is he's just not quick enough to get his shot off a lot. You saw him against Loyola Chicago, or against the Ducks. I'm messing up which game it was. I was getting confused between Illinois and Iowa there for a second, but against the Ducks, like he would like pump fake, get the guy in the air, but not be quick enough to finish before the guy had a chance to still block his shot and stuff like that, and that doesn't bode well for success at the NBA level if he can't get his shot off after pump faking a guy and him falling for it in the NBA.
He needs to be able to shoot. If he can shoot threes, he'll be able to hang around in the NBA. It just comes down to him being able to shoot threes, and he didn't shoot many. I think he made a 3 every 5 games or something this year.
Garza, you're talking about?
Oh, are you talking about Garza? I was talking about Timmy, because I feel like a lot of things you could say about Garza would apply to Timmy potentially.
No, Timmy's got those good post moves. That's the difference. Is like he's not as big, obviously, but he gets. You saw him tonight. Those 2 post moves, and I think that was in overtime, maybe. when you went up 4. Like those, you can get those type of moves off on anyone if you're that skilled with your footwork. But yeah, I was talking about Garza not being able to get a shot off against like college level players sometimes if they're quick jumpers, let alone NBA style players.
Yep. Another one of my like favorite sleepers at this point in the draft is Davion Mitchell. I think Davion Mitchell will be a good NBA player. Just like a 3-and-D guy that can do a little bit off the dribble and pass the ball. Like I think he'll be a good NBA player. And he's projected late first. I would look at him mid first.
Yeah, I think it's tough between him and why am I blanking on the name?
Jared Butler.
Yeah, Butler, because I think I want to say isn't Mitchell like 22? He'll be 23 by the next season, and I think Butler's 2 years younger than him, so that's
Yeah, I feel like the age thing is just over exaggerated. I mean, Peyton Pritchard at 26 was one of the steals of the draft, and he's like 23. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I feel like, honestly, most steals, like Norman Powell when he came into the league was old, and I felt like he slipped because of that. And look at him now.
Brogdon.
Yeah, I feel like Brogdon. I feel like a lot of players end up going late first or into the second round when they should be going mid first, maybe a little bit higher, but they are faded in terms of their draft stock simply because of their age. Like, I feel like the age thing is over exaggerated with a lot of players. I mean, you can look at a number of steals that were older guys that weren't drafted earlier because they weren't young enough, and then they end up being far, like they should have went a lot earlier. So I feel like Davion Mitchell is going to be one of those guys. Peyton Pritchard was one of those guys last year, it seems, so far. So
yeah, see, the only reason why I say that though is, in the case of like a lot of these teams that are obviously going younger, I think then the age difference does make or the age thing does play into it. But like if you're talking about, like, say we had a pick in this draft and we're picking like 20th and he's still on the board, yeah, absolutely, you take a guy like that regardless of what his age is. But like a lot of these teams that are going younger are obviously like an Orlando who's given up. Like, it doesn't make sense to draft someone a couple years, because the problem is you have them for 4 years, and then by the time they're on their next contract after their rookie contract, they're already like 27 versus some of these guys in their 23, 24 by the time their second contract comes around. It's like the difference between like a Siakam and like I don't know, like someone like Luka or someone who's super young still.
Yeah. I mean, I would just rather get a player that's going to be good in the late first to mid-second than worry about the rest later.
Absolutely.
Another guy that I like that's projected in the second round is Herb Jones. I think he's 6'8". He played for Alabama. Draft age he's almost going to be 23, but shot 35% from three. Is a really good defensive player. And can play make. He averaged over 3 assists per game and only 27 minutes per game is per 36 in college. 4 assists per game to go along with 2 steals, a block and a half, and nine rebounds. So I feel like he will be a steal. Just as kind of like a do-it-all Swiss Army knife forward. Other than that, I haven't watched enough guys yet.
Yeah, I haven't gotten into heavy scouting. Obviously, I watch tournament games and stuff, but...
Yep. But we will have you covered when we get there. We will have you covered on the draft content, because we nerd out on every aspect of basketball. The draft, the CBA, the schemes, the coaching aspect of it. We nerd out on a lot, so we will have you guys covered. Anything else you want to touch on, like from this game, or just in general?
No, it's nice. Hopefully, we have 2 days off to prepare for Tuesday, and I hope we take advantage of that time and are prepared and ready to play on Tuesday night. But it'll be nice to have the 2 days off.
Yep, I'm not thinking about the Blazers until
Monday afternoon.
Yeah. Wait, so Blazers Uprise Live is supposed to be Monday. When does that championship game tip off? I'll be a nervous wreck during that stream.
I think it's like 5 or 6, right? 5:30 or 6.
Okay. So I'll check it right now. It's 6:20 p.m. Pacific time. So we will have Blazers Uprise Live on Monday, going live between 3:30 and 4. Should be able to go live a little bit earlier than we did on April Fool's Day, since I switched up the colorways amongst the teams. Is kind of like an April Fool's Day thing. Look kind of sick. I actually enjoyed doing that. But yeah, so we will have Blazers Uprise Live on Monday. That's the plan. We will preview the road trip, maybe preview the Clippers matchup a bit in terms of things the Blazers can do to try and have some success against the Clippers. We'll get an update on their injury situation. They've been missing Patrick Beverley and Serge Ibaka. So that'll be Blazers Uprise Live, and of course picks against the spread as well. Other than that, we'll have the post-game show on Tuesday. We will talk a lot more about that game than we did about this one. Because good win, 48-point win, dope, okay? Doesn't mean much to me. I am only going to judge this team based off what they do against good teams. That's just the point I'm at. So in terms of games against bottom feeders, where we comfortably win. Now, if we lost OKC tonight, it would have been a lot of focus on the game probably, and it would have been some rants, right? Maybe not from me because I'm in too much of a good mood in general, but maybe from Eric. Eric would have been going off, and justifiably so. We lost this game to the Thunder. But like when we get blowout wins against bad teams, it's kind of, I feel like that's how this is going to be, how it's going to be on the post-game show the rest of the year when we demolish bad teams. It just doesn't mean much. Enjoy it. We'll just enjoy the stream, have a lot looser of a stream, and just talk whatever, we just talk draft, we talk college basketball. So it'll be more kickback and us just kind of hanging out. But the Clippers, the Jazz, those post-game shows will be heavily geared on the basketball that's played in those games, since those are good teams, and I will be judging the team based off their performances against the Jazz and Clippers. So that's a plan going forward.
So Travis says this will be the only stream that'll be like that then.
I mean, hopefully not. Hopefully not. I mean, we'll see, man. We'll see.
Yeah, I agree with Zach. It's the fact that we won by this much is actually, it does mean something.
It means something. We got a positive point differential now.
Yeah.
We're like a plus 0.4 per game now. Big swing there. It's like a 1-point swing because this was game 49 and we beat them by 48. So yeah, that's a 1-point swing there. But yeah, so anything else you want to touch on, or you want me to sign off here?
I think we're good. Everyone have a good night. Thanks for watching.
Yep. Hopefully you have a good rest of your weekend. I will as well. We will catch you again Monday before I have a heart attack. And then we'll catch you with the post-game show Tuesday, and hopefully I'm in a good mood for that one. We'll just have to wait and see, man. Whew. Anyway. Thank you for tuning in and making us a part of your night. Mac Mall, feel free to spam Zag since we are signing off now.
I got.
Did you didn't put him in timeout, did?
Yeah, I did. Just because he deserves it. He knows better. I'm trying to read everyone's good night in chat, and he's spamming.
I just want to see a bunch of Go Zags in chat, honestly. If you're not a fan of the Gonzaga or Baylor, if you I'm your guy, right? I mean, we're all in this Blazers journey together. Just for my sake, I mean, I hope you're rooting for Gonzaga. Just for my sake, because I need this, all right? So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But, yeah, appreciate Mac Mall for spamming Go Zags. I'm sorry that Eric banned you. I was in for it. That's the type of spam that I'm in for. Look at that. See, there we go. Good job, chat. I appreciate it. Eric might try and ban you all for 5 minutes, but we don't got 5 minutes left in this post-game stream. Thank you for tuning in. Eric, you want to say one final goodbye or rage at the spam?
No. Go Zags, I guess. I
Hell
want you
yeah.
to be happy and experience a win,
Yes.
even though I don't care. But
Yes. I was rooting for your Beavers, man. I was rooting
I
for your
know.
Beavers, so I kind of wish the Beavers were who Gonzaga was playing in the championship, to be honest. But
should be a great game.
yeah. I mean, this is the matchup we win all year for. So anyway, but we will have you covered on Blazers Uprise Live on Monday before that, and we'll talk about the upcoming games the Blazers have against the Clippers and the Jazz. So until then, hopefully you have a good rest of your weekend. Have a good Sunday. Enjoy the day off. And until next time, as always, peace out.